The transfer portal is the most popular topic that we talk about on the show. So I have been having our staff do a lot of digging. Everybody knows the name Caleb Williams. Everybody knows the high-profile names. I want you to know the most important names beyond the surface and just beneath the surface. Some portal names to know. And I'm going to start you in Arkansas with Drew Sanders. Now, you remember the name because he was a five-star linebacker who committed to Alabama. This is not a typical transfer. Arkansas knew that. I want everyone else to know that. Dallas Turner and Will Anderson are the reasons Drew Sanders transferred. Bama's got the two best linebackers in the country this year. It just so happens Drew Sanders plays that position. So Drew Sanders transferred out. This is a future first-round quality linebacker that has no character concerns, quite the opposite. He's a high-level character guy. And imagine being Sam Pittman. Imagine being Barry Odom, and you're just sitting around one day and Drew Sanders is in the transfer portal? What happened? Did he lose a bet? No, they're just that loaded at Alabama at his position. It probably took about 10 minutes, according to some intel I got. It took about 10 or so minutes into spring practice before that coaching staff looked around and said, well, he's kind of different than the other players we have, isn't he? Drew Sanders, moving him to inside linebacker. Drew Sanders is going to be one of the best players in that division this year. And you'll quickly watch him and realize it'll kind of be like Jamison Williams was at Bama, ironically. You'll watch Jamison Williams last year and you say, wow, that kid transferred because he couldn't get playing time at Ohio State. How loaded must that receiver room be? You'll say the same thing about Bama's linebackers this year. You'll watch Drew Sanders, and he'll play at like an all-SEC caliber level, and you'll say, how loaded must that linebacker room have been at Alabama? Drew Sanders, very good one. A game-changing talent. Drew Sanders at Arkansas. Aaron Brule, anybody remember that name? He went from MSU to MSU. So he was a linebacker at Mississippi State. He's transferring to Michigan State. And linebacker, it's kind of a strange thing because you look at the defensive numbers for Michigan State last year, and they were pretty poor. Pass defense was really poor. This linebacker room is kind of secretly loaded, though. They got a lot of depth here. Aaron Brule comes in, though, and he's a former safety in high school. He's 6'1", 230 or so. I think he's the kind of player and has the kind of range and versatility at the linebacker position that Mel Tucker thought they needed. They liked him in spring ball. So this is not a case unseen sort of thing. They came in, impressed him in spring ball. They're deep at linebacker now because they've got Brule. Cal Halliday was good for them last year. They brought in Jacoby Windman from UNLV. So they've got some depth there. Secondary is another issue that they hope they have rectified. But Halliday's the kid who had the pick six in the Peach Bowl to wrap it up. So they got some noteworthy names at linebacker. Aaron Brule, though, I think will be a starter for them. He's a grad transfer from Mississippi State. Another name that used to be familiar down in SEC circles that has gone elsewhere is Jacob Copeland. Jacob Copeland's former four-star receiver, played 39 games at Florida. He's gone off to Maryland now. Now, Maryland is going to be what they are defensively this year, probably going to struggle defensively, but the wide receiver room probably won't get a lot of national attention because of Ohio State. Outside of Ohio State, this is about as good a receiver room as you have in the conference up there. And Jacob Copeland's one reason why. Rakeem Jarrett is still there. Dante Demas is still there. These are proven commodities now. So they're going to need to score a lot of points. Taulia Tagovailoa at quarterback up there is going to need some targets, and he's got them to throw to. It probably will be a situation where if you're a Maryland fan, you wake up every Saturday morning going, all right, let's go score 40 and hope for the best. That's the bad news. The good news is the offense looks perfectly equipped and capable of doing that. Turnovers were a big issue last year. They've got to cut down on those. But Jacob Copeland is probably going to be a guy who plays a big part in Maryland's effort to improve record-wise, but also even if they don't put up a record that's anything to write home about, Maryland will be a team that just on any given Saturday is capable of doing the cattle prod to the neck because of the offensive firepower that they're going to have. Jacob Copeland is part of that. Kanata Mumpfield is another receiver I need you to know about. He is headed to Pitt by way of Akron. Think back a few months with me. What have been the two big headlines out of Pitt? This is the not defending, scratch that. This is the ACC champion from last year. I'm told you can't take it away from them, so they're not defending it. You have heard headline number one, Keaton Slovish transferring to Pitt. So Kenny Pickett goes to the NFL. Here comes Keaton Slovish. Plug and play, baby. We'll see if it's that easy. But that's been the first headline you've heard. The second headline, as Slovis came in from USC to Pitt, is Jordan Addison, their best receiver, going from Pitt to to USC. And you didn't hear a lot about Kanata Mumfield, did you? Well, he's a guy, and he was there before Addison left, I believe. I have my timeline right on that. He is a receiver that last year put up some pretty good numbers. They got Jared Wayne there already. He had 47 for 658 last year. Mumfield was a freshman All-American at Akron last year. 61 catches, 750 yards, 8 touchdowns. Those are guys in the aggregate that have to make up the productivity that's being left behind and that void left by Jordan Addison. It's not an option. They have to be able to do that. And Mumfield, really, I could have picked either one of them, but Mumfield is a guy who could very well decide the ACC. Like, think about how important that kind of player is. That's kind of like some of these names that we've talked about, guys that aren't going to be on the cover of preview magazines, but they're going to be very, very important role players. So those are 4 more names. We're not done with that. We're going to talk about several more names, because what I don't want, probably the worst insult we could ever have, is a viewer or a listener of our show is standing at the water cooler at work Monday morning, and some dude cost you money Saturday, and you had no clue where he came from. I didn't even know they had that kid. Where did Mumfield come from? I didn't think Pitt had good receivers this year. I don't want that to be you. If you're losing money, I want it to be because you ignored the Ramen Noodle Express, not because we did not have you informed. You're not wasting your time here. These are names you need to know about.